our founder flames. This right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum.
Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. Live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe.
Are you ready to be transformed at first light? Exposing the hidden flame in the seventh violet ray. Join a grand rising with ChristoLight this morning. Tonight's mystery becomes tomorrow's illumination. For seekers and souls, Saint Germain opens the violet ray, a gentle alchemy of freedom, a gentle alchemy of forgiveness, a gentle alchemy of rebirth. Come to the grand rising with ChristoLight. Receive a transmission. Feel the veil thin. Step into conscious radiance. Short, sacred, potent. Are you ready to rise?
When we enter the new age, we are entering a new vibration. A new age raises us to a higher consciousness because ages are dispensations of light from the great central sun. Ages reveal to us a new perception of ourselves against the backdrop of a new revelation about God. And the God that is revealed to us in Aquarius is the God of freedom. The God who is revealed to us is that flaming presence of the Holy Spirit. That God that is revealed to us is the inner flame within. So I would like to talk to you about this new age and about ages in general. The term new age is related to a phenomenon in astrology and astronomy that is known as the precession of the equinoxes. The precession of the equinoxes, the backward rotation of the Earth on the polar axis, whereby the point of the equinox passes through the 12 signs of the zodiac in a period of 28,500 years. That means in one sign, it takes about 2,150 years for us to pass through. Ages are really not new. There was a new age 2,000 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. It was the age of Aries. And under that sign of Aries, which is actually the sign of the sun itself, a great revelation of God was given to us. Then came the age of Pisces and the great revelation through the incarnation of God, Jesus Christ. Today, again, a new revelation, a new vibration. We are at the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aquarius. They overlap. So the signs of our time is that we are experiencing the last days of Pisces, the end times of Pisces, and at the very same time, the new vibration of opportunity of Aquarius. So herein lies our perception of both our karma and what is coming in the future as opportunity. What we need to realize is that the age of Aquarius, under the sign of Aquarius, is the sign of a great freedom, the flame of freedom. And there is one who embodies that flame of freedom and that awareness of God as freedom, and his name is Saint Germain. The beloved ascended Master Saint Germain is the second friend that is a very dear heart, dear to your own. Saint Germain has walked the earth in many lifetimes, and we know him through those embodiments. We have known him, all of us have known him, at least in one of those lifetimes. Every lifetime he has lived, he has been putting on and internalizing the light of freedom. Freedom in science, in alchemy, in prophecy, freedom in government. His final incarnation was that of Francis Bacon, the greatest mind the West ever produced. Not too many people know this, and some who have heard it don't accept it, but he was the true author of the Shakespearean plays. He was a great scientific mind, and he envisioned a great instauration for the renewal in the New World. He envisioned the coming of this new age and America as the land of the new age who would pioneer it. But that isn't where he started with America. Saint Germain was already calling our souls to that new age when he was embodied as Christopher Columbus. He came on a spiritual quest. He was looking to discover the promised land where it had been said that the lost tribes would gather again, they would reincarnate here, and when they gathered, they would raise up an ensign to all the people of the world. An ensign is a sign. What is the contribution then that we, the people of this nation, gathered from all of the nations of the earth, are intended to give back to those nations of our heritage? It is the sign of a spiritual freedom, and out of a spiritual freedom, knowledge in the experiment of government. The ascended Master Saint Germain was there in Independence Hall when the Declaration of Independence was signed. The story goes that there was a hesitation and a delay, that he suddenly appeared in the room and gave an impassioned speech which has been preserved. And the final words of that speech were, "Sign that document." And the independence that he saw in that signing was the independence from tyranny and dictatorship of all outer forces outside of our soul's union within with a divine spark and the inner presence, to be a free people, not subject to the tyranny of church or state. He inspired our Constitution, our flag, and anointed our first president, initiating him as he knelt before his inauguration. Saint Germain is the living spirit of freedom in our nation. When we say we love America and we love the way it feels here, and there's no place on earth like America, especially when we've traveled everywhere else as I have, it's the spirit of his flame, because Saint Germain, as an ascended master, determined to sponsor our nation. And in sponsoring our nation, he sponsored every single one of us to take embodiment here. He lived as Saint Joseph, the husband of Mary, father of Jesus, as the prophet Samuel in the Old Testament. He's that most beloved and curious figure, Merlin, who appears in the story of the court of Arthur and of Camelot, which archaeology and literary research has established was a very real place. Merlin then, the ever-present Merlin who wrote down his prophecies that were well read in the early centuries and then banned by the church, returns once again to call souls who were embodied with him in a golden age that took place on the Sahara Desert, where that Sahara Desert now is, in a very fertile valley, 50,000 years ago. He has said that many Americans were there, and the recollection of him as that emperor, that priest king, that philosopher, that one who set the example for self-government by the inner light within, that remembrance has brought us together in the age that belongs to Saint Germain, that is his flame, that he has sparked. In this tremendous moment as we stand on the threshold of that age, we also see that there is prophesied war, rumors of war, problems in the economy, plague, mass starvation. We see manipulations of the ecology, the ecosystem. We see so many burdens that are either too hard to bear or impossible to bear, because nobody has the key to their solution.
The preceding lecture was given by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, world-renowned author and spiritual teacher. The Summit Lighthouse is an international spiritual organization dedicated to universal enlightenment. Founded in 1958, the Summit Lighthouse has been a beacon of truth to thousands worldwide and a leader in New Thought spirituality. The preceding program has been brought to you by the Summit Lighthouse. For more information, call 1-800-245-5445 or visit our website at www.tsl.org. Outside the USA, call 406-848-9500 or write to the Summit Lighthouse, 63 Summit Way, Gardner, Montana, 59030 USA.
Hello, grand day, grand rising, everyone. Welcome in to the Grand Rising with ChristoLight series. I am Marcus ChristoLight, your host, founder of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. Reach out anytime. I am your shaman if you want to reach out and go through reprogramming, if you want to integrate the lessons and shadow work that you're moving through, if you want to receive Reiki or guidance in your weekly life to help reshape your patterns and habits, things of that nature I help with in my daily life. Also host retreats. Got a few retreats coming up, including a summer solstice retreat. Going to be going to Costa Rica here next week, hosting a retreat. And you guys can actually just go to the QR code. And that QR code will take you to my link page where you guys can check out and register for any of the retreats. You can check out my one-on-one healing services, as well as anything surrounding the community that I host worldwide as well. So that was just a nice kickoff and introduction into our Chohan of the seventh ray, which is our focus for today, on Saint Germain. And Saint Germain is the head chief or the head lord that represents and carries the attributes of the seventh violet flame into this harmonic universe. So Elizabeth Clare Prophet gave us a nice introduction, backstory, and insight into Saint Germain. And before I pull up our text and we deep dive into our screen share text, I'm gonna go ahead and give us a rewind to yesterday, where we were in the sixth ray, observing the Chohan Lady Nada. Check that out.
Lady Nada is the Chohan of the sixth ray, which is, they say purple and gold, but it's more like a ruby color. So it's like a ruby and gold ray of peace, administration, and service. She is also a member of the Karmic Board, on which she serves as the representation of the third pink ray of divine love. Embodiments on Atlantis. So on Atlantis, Nada worked in the healing arts and served as a priestess in the Temple of Love. The etheric counterpart of this temple, which is designed after the pattern of a rose, is centered above New Bedford, Massachusetts. And they continue to preach the word and its science until the hour of the judgment, and they're embarking on the ark. 2,700 years ago, in her final incarnation, Nada was the youngest of a large family of exceptionally gifted children. She was tutored by Charity. Archaea of the third ray is in how to expand the threefold flame of love in her heart for the quickening of the chakras. Of her talented Nada says, it does not matter what your training and what your position. It is not in what you do with your hands, it is what you do with your heart that counts. For as I spent several of my last incarnations in keeping the flame of life anonymously for my family and for other members of the community, so I am able to tell you firsthand what it means to God, what it means to souls evolving on Terra to have someone, that silent, peaceful someone in the midst of activity, silently declaring the law of truth, the law of perfection, the law of victory on behalf of each of who was so busy serving, so busy trying to do good for humanity, that does not have time to make the application for him or herself. Groups. I'm literally organizing a kids group. I'm organizing a men's group. I have a whole entire worldwide community that I've been organizing for years. I'm literally organizing events with local shops and areas all around here. So it's just really cool to feel what it is that I have been in the path of being talked about and reading about it as well.
He is the Lady Master, the one feminine being who does serve as one of the lords of the seven rays. These masters are charged by God and by Jesus to help everyone evolving on planet Earth realize their potential on one of these seven rays. They are very busy. It is definitely a full-time job, and that's why they have their universities of the spirit. I'd like to give you an opportunity to sing to all of the Chohans by singing to Nada. But first I want to tell you about Nada. She lived as priestess in the Temple of Love on Atlantis. She was a lawyer on Atlantis, and she also had a healing temple. As a lawyer, she became an expert in the defense of souls oppressed by the spoilers in the earth.
Ascend to Master Nada, enfold me in your unbreakable peace. May this feeling be completely absorbed by the threefold flame in my heart and become a quality of my own being.
Alrighty, here we go. Saint Germain. Saint Germain. I'm gonna go ahead and take this QR code off. All right. Saint Germain is the Chohan of the seventh ray. Together with his twin flame, the Ascended Lady Master Portia, the Goddess of Justice, he is the hierarch of the Aquarian Age, the great sponsor of Freedom's Flame, while Portia is the sponsor of the Flame of Justice. Saint Germain is known as a diplomat, expressing the godly qualities of dignity, grace, gentility, poise, and true statesmanship through all who invoke the seventh ray. He is a member of the House of Rakowski, founded by the great divine director, in whose Transylvanian mansion the violet flame of freedom is presented, enshrined. The name Saint Germain comes from Latin Sanctus Germanus, meaning simply holy brother. His mission, each 2,000-year cycle, comes under one of the seven rays. Jesus, as Chohan of the sixth ray, held the office of hierarch of the age during the last 2,000 years. On May 1st, 1954, Saint Germain and Portia were crowned as directors for the coming cycle of the seventh ray. Freedom and justice are the yin and yang of the seventh ray of Aquarius. Together with mercy, they provide the foundation for all their attributes of God to be outpictured in his seventh dispensation. Saint Germain and Portia delivered to the people of God the dispensation for the seventh age and the seventh ray, the violet ray of freedom, justice, mercy, alchemy, and sacred ritual. A new light wave, a new civilization, a new energy. As Chohan, our Lord of the seventh ray, Saint Germain initiates our souls in the science and ritual of transmutation through the violet flame. He is the seventh angel prophesied in Revelation 10:7, who comes to sponsor the finishing of the mystery of God, as he declared to his servants, the prophets. Saint Germain says, I am an ascended being, but it has not ever been thus. Not once or twice, but for many incarnations, I walked the earth, as you now do, confined to mortal frame and the limitations of dimensional existence. I was on Lemuria, I was on Atlantis. I've been given civilizations rise and fall. I have seen the undulations of consciousness as mankind have cycled from golden ages to primitive societies. I have seen the choices, and I have been seeing mankind by wrong choices squander the energies of 100,000 years of science advancement and even degrees of cosmic consciousness that transcend that which is attained by members of the most advanced religions of the day. Yes, I have seen the choices, and I have chosen. By right choices, man and women establish their position in hierarchy by choosing to be free in the magnificent will of God, the source, creator. I won my freedom from the mortal round of incarnations and justifications of an existence outside the one. I won my freedom by that flame, that keynote of the Aquarian cycle traced by alchemists of old, that purple elixir the saints do hold. You are mortal, I am immortal. The only difference between us is that I have chosen to be free, and you have yet to make that choice. We have the same potential, same resources, same connection to the one. I have taken mine to forge a God identity. For long ago, the still, small voice within spoke the fiat of Alpha and the living God. Children of the One, forge your God identity. And in the stillness of the night, I heard the call and I answered, I will. And when I said I will, all of the cosmos echoed, I will. The will to be summons the vastness of the potential of being. I am Saint Germain. I have come to claim your soul in the fires of your heart for the victory of the Aquarian age. I have set the pattern for your soul's initiation. I am on the path of freedom. Take that path and you will find me there. I am your teacher, if you will have me. Saint Germain. Embodiments, ruler of a golden age civilization. Over 50,000 years ago, Saint Germain was a ruler of a golden age civilization in a fertile country where the Sahara Desert now is. As King Emperor, Saint Germain was a master of the ancient wisdom and of the knowledge of the matter spheres, and the people looked to him as a standard for their own emerging godhood. His empire reached a height of beauty, symmetry, and perfection, unexceeded in the physical octave. As the people of this civilization became more interested in the pleasures of the senses than in the larger creative plan of the great God Self, a cosmic council instructed the ruler to withdraw from his empire. Henceforth, their karma would be their guru. The king held a grand banquet for his counselors and public servants. His 576 guests each received a crystal goblet filled with an elixir that was pure electronic essence. The elixir was Saint Germain's gift of soul protection to them so that when their opportunity would come again in the age of Aquarius to bring back that golden age society, they would remember their I am presence, and they would become a sign to all people that God and shall dwell with his people when they make their minds and hearts and souls a fitting inhabitants for his spirit. During the banquet, a cosmic master identifying himself solely by the word victory upon his brow addressed the assembly. He warned the people of the crisis they have brought upon themselves by their faithlessness, rebuked them for their neglect of their great God source, and prophesied that the empire would come under the rule of a visiting prince who would be seeking to marry the king's daughter. The king and his family withdrew 7 days later to the golden etheric city counterpart of the civilization. The prince arrived the next day and took over without opposition. He was a high priest on Atlantis, just like a lot of these other Chohans. They were present at the same time on Atlantis, upholding these different aspects and rays of knowledge and wisdom. So as a Violet Flame Temple High Priest, On Atlantis, 13,000 years ago, Saint Germain sustained by his invocations and causal body a pillar of fire, a veritable foundation, a violet singing flame, which magnetized people near and far who came to be set free from any binding condition of body, mind, and soul. This they achieved by self-effort through the offering of invocations and the practices of seventh ray rituals to the sacred fire. Those who officiated at the altar of the Violet Flame Temple were schooled in the universal priesthoods of the Order of Melchizedek at Lord Zachiel's retreat, the Temple of Purification, which stood where the island of Cuba now is. This priesthood combines the perfect religion and the perfect science. It was here that both Saint Germain and Jesus received the anointing spoken by Zachiel himself. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Zachiel, that's one of the archangels, Archangel Zachiel of the Violet Flame. Prior to the sinking of Atlantis, while Noah was yet building his ark and warning the people of the great flood to come, the great divine director called Saint Germain and a few faithful priests to transport the flame of freedom from the purification temple to a place of safety in Carpathian foothills in Transylvania. Here they carried on the sacred ritual of expanding the fires of freedom, even when mankind's karma was being exacted by divine decree. In succeeding embodiments, Saint Germain and his followers, under the guidance of the great divine director, rediscovered the flame and continued to guard the shrine. Later, the great divine director, assisted by his disciple, established a retreat at the site of the flame and founded the House of Rákóczi, the royal house of Hungary. He was also the prophet Samuel. So in 11th century BC, he was embodied as Samuel, an outstanding religious leader in a time of great apostasy, serving as the last of Israel's judges and the first of her prophets. In those days, the judges did not simply arbitrate disputes. They were charismatic leaders who believed to have direct access to God and could rally the tribes of Israel against oppressors. And try not to compare this to the times that we're in now. These are different time periods and way different things going on, different lifestyles. So Samuel is the messenger of God's liberation of the seed of Abraham from bondage to the corrupt priests, the sons of Eli from the Philistines who had slaughtered the Israels in battle. He is traditionally named alongside Moses as a great intercessor when the nation faced continuing threats from the Philistines. Wow. There's just so many lives. I'm going to kind of move through this a little bit. Saint Joseph. So he's also the embodiment of Saint Joseph, the father of Jesus and the husband of Mary. Wow. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. So there are a few references to him in the New Testament. The Bible traces lineage back to David. It also recounts how when the angel of the Lord warned him in a dream that Herod planned to kill Jesus, Joseph heeded the warning and took his family to Egypt. Returning after Herod's death, Joseph is said to have been a carpenter and is thought to have passed on before Jesus began his public ministry. So Saint Joseph is revered as patron of the Universal Church, and his feast is celebrated on March 19th. Saint Alban. In the late 3rd century, Saint Germain was embodied as Saint Alban, the first martyr of Britain. Alban lived in England during the persecution of Christians under the Roman Emperor Diocletian. He was a pagan who had served in the Roman army and settled the town of Verulamium, later renamed St. Albans. Alban hid a fugitive Christian priest named Ambialus, who converted him. When soldiers came to search for him, Alban allowed the priest to escape and distinguished himself in the cleric garb. Teacher of Proclus. Saint Germain worked from inner planes as the master teacher behind the Neoplanetist. He inspired the Greek philosopher Proclus, the highly honored head of Plato's Academy at Athens. He revealed his pupil's previous life as a Pythagorean philosopher, also showing Proclus the sham of Constantine's Christianity and the worth of the path of individualism, which Christians called paganism. Wow. Under his master tutelage, Proclus based his philosophy upon the principle that there is only one true reality, the One, which is God or the Godhead, the final goal of all life's efforts. The philosopher said, beyond all bodies is the essence of soul, and beyond all souls, the intellectual nature, and beyond all intellectual existences, the One. And then we also have Merlin the magician. So in 5th century, Saint Germain was embodied as Merlin, alchemist, prophet, and counselor at the court of King Arthur. In a land splendored by warring chieftains and riven by Saxon invaders, Merlin led Arthur through 12 battles to unite the kingdom of Britain, which are also 12 initiations. They worked side by side by the king to establish the sacred fellowship of the Round Table under the guidance of Merlin and Arthur. Camelot was a mystery school where the knights and ladies pursued the inner unfoldment of the mysteries of the Holy Grail and a path of personal Christhood. In some traditions, Merlin is described as a godly sage who studied the stars and whose prophecies were recorded by 70 secrecies. The prophecies of Merlin, which deals with the events extending from Arthur's time into the distant future, was popular in the Middle Age. Roger Bacon. So he was also Sir Roger Bacon, philosopher, Franciscan monk, educational reformer, experimental scientist. He was in an era which theology and logic were both dictated the parameters of science. He promoted the experimental method, declared his belief that the world was round, and cascaded the scholars and scientists of his day for their narrow-mindedness. True knowledge stems from the authority of others, not from the authority of others, nor from a blind allegiance to antiquated dogmas. Bacon eventually left his position as a lecturer at the University of Paris and entered the Franciscan Order of Friars Minor. Bacon was renowned for his exhaustive investigations into alchemy, optics, mathematics, and languages. He is viewed as the forerunner of modern science and a prophet of modern technology. He predicted the hot air balloon, flying machine, spectacles, the telescope, the microscope, the elevator, and mechanically propelled ships and carriages, and wrote of them as if he had actually seen them. Interesting. Oh boy. Christopher Columbus. Interesting. I guess a soul has to incarnate into everyone, huh? So Saint Germain was embodied as Christopher Columbus. Before Columbus sailed, Roger Bacon himself had set the stage for Columbus's voyage to the New World. You know, this is a very interesting thing. You know, I'm still a little shaky about that history. So I'm kind of interested to really, really, really know what happened in that timeline. Because, you know, the game of telephone's interesting, and we live in a world full of propaganda. So I would really love to like sit with a medium or a channeler and just like go into the Akashic records and truly see what happened in that time period. Because there could be lies on all sides. You just never really know. You know, there could be lies to keep us in trauma bonds and cycles of division and hate, or there can be lies that are covering up the corruption. So we don't know until we really know. Then Francis Bacon. Oh wow, so Bacon actually wrote some of Shakespeare's plays as well. And then the Wonder Man of Europe. So desiring above all else to liberate God's people, Saint Germain sought and was granted a dispensation from the lords of karma to return to earth in a physical body. He appeared as Le Comte de Saint Germain, a miraculous gentleman who dazzled the court of 18th and 19th century Europe, where they called him the Wonder Man. He was an alchemist, scholar, linguistic, poet, music artist, raconteur, and diplomat, admired throughout the courts of Europe for his adeptship. He was known for such feats as removing the flaws in diamonds and other precious stones, and composing simultaneously a letter with one hand and poetry with the other. Valère described him as the man who never dies and knows everything. The Count is mentioned in the letters of Frederick the Great, Valère, Horace Walpole, and Casanova in the newspapers of the day. Working behind the scenes, Saint Germain attempted to effect a smooth transition from monarchy to representative government and to prevent the bloodshed of the French Revolution. But his counsel was ignored. In a final attempt to unite Europe, he backed Napoleon, who misused the master's power to his own demise. Wow. But even prior to this, Saint Germain had turned his attention to the New World. He became sponsoring masters of the American United States and of her first president, inspiring the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He also inspired many of the labor-saving devices of the 20th century to further his goal of liberating mankind from drudgery, that they might devote themselves to the pursuit of God realization. And that is so key in understanding as we continue to shift in this world, as things continue to change. We are going to see that things that require our physical labor and physical attention, we're going to have less opportunity of that, because we are continuing to elevate into a higher frequency of realization and focus. And we're going to be able to now have more freedom, since we're not slave laboring, to just be and hear our signals, hear our intuition, tune into our passion, seek or want to receive more of our higher purpose or higher mission. But if we're just wrapped up in our 9 to 5 and always working and always doing these things that technology can take care of, when do we ever get the time to really focus on self-realization? When do we get the time to focus on healing ourselves? When do we get the time to focus on establishing and anchoring our connection to our spirit? Embrace the changes, guys. It's all happening with us. Chohan, the seventh ray. In the 18th century, Saint Germain received from Lady Master Kuan Yin her office as Chohan of the seventh ray, the ray of mercy and forgiveness, and of sacred ceremony. And in the 20th century, Saint Germain stepped forth once again to sponsor an outer activity of the Great White Brotherhood. 1930s, he contacted his general in the field, the re-embodied George Washington, whom he trained as a messenger and who, under the pen name of Godfrey Ray King, released the foundation of Saint Germain's instruction, the New Age, in the books Unveiled Mysteries, The Magic Presence, and the I Am Discourses. In the late 1930s, the goddess of justice and other cosmic beings came forth from the great silence to assist Saint Germain in his work of bringing the teachings of the sacred fire to mankind and ushering in the Golden Age. 1961, Saint Germain contacted his embodied representative, the messenger Mark L. Prophet, and the founder of the Keeper of the Flames fraternity in the memory of the Ancient of Days, and his first pupil, Lord Gautama Buddha, and the second, Lord Maitreya. His purpose was to quicken all of who had originally came to earth with Sana Kumara, to restore the memory of the ancient vow and reason for being on earth today, to serve as world teachers, administering servants and their families, communities, and nations at the critical hour of the turning of cycles. Thus, Saint Germain recalled the original keepers of the flame to hear ken the voice of the Ancient of Days and to answer the call to reconsecrate their lives to the rekindling of the flame of life in the sacred fires of freedom in the souls of God's people. Saint Germain is the Knight Commander of the Keepers of the Flame Fraternity. Hierarch of the Aquarian Age. On May 1st, 1954, Saint Germain received from Sana Kumara the scepter of power, and from the Master Jesus the crown of authority to direct the consciousness of mankind for this 2,000-year period. This does not mean the influence of the Ascended Master Jesus has receded. Rather, as world teacher from the ascended level, his instruction and his radiance of the Christ consciousness to all mankind will be even more powerful and all-pervading than before, for it is the nature of the divine continually to transcend itself. We live in an expanding universe, a universe that expands from the center of each individualized Son of God. This dispensation means that we are now entering a 2,000-year period when, by invoking into our beings and worlds the violet transmuting flame, the God energy that the human race has misqualified for thousands of years, may now be purified and all mankind cut free from fear, lack, sin, sickness, and death, and all may now walk in the light as God-free beings. At this dawn of the age of Aquarius, Saint Germain has gone before the Lords of Karma and received the opportunity to release the knowledge of the violet flame outside of the inner retreats of the Great White Brotherhood. Outside the mystery schools, Saint Germain tells us the benefits of invoking the violet flame. In some of you, a hearty amount of karma has been balanced. In others, hardness of heart has truly melted around the heart chakra. There has come a new love and a new softening, a new compassion and a new sensitivity to life, a new freedom and a new joy to pursuing that freedom. There has come a holiness as you have contacted through the flame, the priesthood of the order of Melchizedek. There has come a melting and dissolving of certain momentums of ignorance and mental density, and a turning toward a dietary path more conductive to your own God mastery. The violet flame has assisted in relationships within families. It has served to liberate some to balance old karmas and old hurts and to set individuals on their courses according to their vibration. It must be remembered that the violet flame does not contain the flame of God justice and God justice. Of course, it does contain the flame of the judgment, and thus the violet flame always comes as a two-edged sword to separate the real from the unreal. Blessed ones, it is impossible to enumerate exhaustively all of the benefits of the violet flame, but there is indeed an alchemy that does take place within the personality. The violet flame goes after the schisms that cause psychological problems that go back to early childhood and previous incarnations, and that have established such deep grooves within the consciousness that in fact they have been difficult to shake lifetime after lifetime. So, alchemy. Saint Germain teaches the science of alchemy in his book, Saint Germain on Alchemy. He uses the amethyst, the stone of the alchemist, the stone of the Aquarian Age, and the violet flame. The waltzes of Strauss carry the vibration of the violet flame, and will help to put you in tune with him. He also told us that the Rakowski March by Franz Liszt carries the flame of his heart and the formula of the violet flame. Retreat spaces, you have the Royal Teton Retreat and the Cave of Symbols. He maintains a focus in the Golden Etheric City over the Sahara Desert. He also teaches classes at the Royal Teton Retreat, as well as his own physical etheric retreat, the Cave of Symbols, in Table Mountain, Wyoming. In addition, he works at the Great Divine Director's Focuses, the Cave of Light in India, and the Rakowski Mansion in Transylvania, where he proceeds as Hierarch. More recently, he has established a base in South America at the retreat of the god and goddess Meru. His electronic pattern is the Maltese Cross, his fragrance that of violets. I'm gonna check this out, South America, the Meru. I'm curious what this is because, are they talking about Mount Meru? The god and goddess Meru are Manus of the sixth root race. They are the lawgivers and they embody the Christic image for all the members of this root race. These masters are the sponsors of education, advanced learning, the acceleration of the mind, the heart, the soul, and the full development of the potential of the unborn child and all children as they mature. The terms God and Goddess denote that they are cosmic beings who ensoul the God consciousness of their office. God Meru has explained that the names God and Goddess Meru have come down from ancient Lemuria, where their twin flames guard the light of the motherland. The physical focus of the mother flame was lost when Lemuria sank beneath the Pacific. The God and Goddess Meru has enshrined the mother flame at their retreat on the etheric plane to keep up from the loss of the focus of the flame on the ancient motherland. Wow, interesting. High in the Andes Mountains on Peru is the Temple of Illumination over Lake Titicaca. Interesting. Oh, cool. All right, so that'll do it for our text study on Saint Germain. All right. Wow. Good stuff. So, coming up next month, summer solstice, we got a retreat happening in nature in the middle of Ohio.
Eyes closed.
Check it out.
Floating on a lake. Sound vibrating through your bones. This is Summer Solstice. Hosted by Sacred Kingdom Community, the Summer Solstice 26 Ascended Masters Retreat is an intentional healing of the divine masculine, balanced with the feminine, to honor Father's Day weekend. 4 days of embodied teachings, ceremonies, and live music in Ohio's Zaleski State Forest at Lake Hope. Camping under the canopy, vegetarian brunches and dinners included. A sober, safe container to be vulnerable, supported, and real. Guided by shamanic spaceholder and producer Marcus ChristoLight of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness Sharing Cacao, Galactic Pioneer Wisdom, and more. Sacred Spaceholders. Priestess Jessie of Sacred Phoenix Sisterhood Circle leads ecstatic dance. Kat of Kat's Treasure Tree journeys into shadow with an Anubis obsidian aerospace. Kirsten of Mama K's Creations teaches dreamcatcher weaving. Twin Moon Sisters Cheyenne and Victoria offer a floating sound bath on the lake. More sacred spaces to be announced. Live music by Aura de Prophet, Evan Sturgeon, and Cricket de Gift. Bring a kayak, paddleboard, or floaty for the lake. and free time to drift whenever you feel. June 1922, 2026. Ages 12 plus with adult. No drugs or alcohol. Tickets, $99 for a single day without stay, or $333 for all 3 days with stay. Register via the Jotform link or QR code, or email marcustut23@gmail.com with questions. Come meet your tribe.
The mind's eye, it's in these times we know we're never alone. Where there's a will, where there's a will, there's a way, there's a way. Yeah, the change was coming, it's here today.
We coasting with potion, high five to the ground, bitch, we chosen. Silly, got the flow like the ocean, can escape when your brain is eroding. We got that light, chakras celebrate, bright. Check my triple sight. Yeah, you know we consciously. We got that light, chakras celebrate, bright. Check my triple sight. It has been written that we are ascending, but we're the descendants of the source of all existence. Yeah, it has been written that we are ascending, but we're the descendants of the source of all existence.
Oof. The boy, oh boy. Looks like it's just me and you, Saint Germain, and alive. I don't know where everyone's at. Guess they'll catch it another time. So. I know where everyone's at, though, Saint. They're all right there inside the heart. And we are doing such beautiful work together. Yep, I'm talking to Saint Germain and to anybody else that is receiving. I don't ever really care if there's 0 views, 70 views, 1,000 views. When you realize your spiritual connection is far beyond the digital world, what you're doing is still affecting the collective, whether people view it or not. And that's what really counts right there. You're seen, you're scribed for your efforts. Just show up and be you, no matter what. No matter what. Oh, man. I have felt just unwavering inspiration through my being lately. Wow. All right. Let's go back to Elizabeth as she closes out her talk about Saint Germain. Then after that, I have a wonderful video for you guys on ways and how you can consciously connect with and use the violet flame in your life.
Now we come to the Lord of the seventh ray and the seventh age, beloved Saint Germain, hierarch of Aquarius. He was embodied as a ruler of a golden age civilization between 50 to 70,000 years ago in the area where the Sahara Desert now is, in a very fertile valley. The story of this golden age and how it came to an end and how he withdrew is sealed in the Lords of the Seven Rays book. It's very important because Saint Germain has said to many an audience, many of you were there, and I'm calling you again to that memory of that time. He held a great banquet at the conclusion of the time when the masters could serve with the people, and he gave a crystal goblet, a crystal chalice of light that all who attended that banquet would never, ever forget their God source or their I Am presence. Saint Germain was high priest on Atlantis more than 11,500 years ago. He served in the order of Lord Zadkiel in the Temple of Purification in the Caribbean. In this temple of Lord Zadkiel, the archangel of the seventh ray, we find him serving in the order of the priesthood of Melchizedek. Saint Germain and Jesus have shown me the record of Jesus himself having studied in that temple when he was embodied on Atlantis. And it was in that temple that Jesus was made a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Now that particular phrase and teaching found its way into the book of Hebrews, a very mysterious book of the New Testament that no one is quite sure who wrote. I think the most likely candidate of authorship for that book is Jesus himself, because it tells you that Jesus is a priest after the order of Melchizedek, a priest forever. And who would have known that but Jesus? No one else writes about it. Furthermore, it speaks of Melchizedek being made likened unto the Son of God. And of course, no one in the New Testament is ever speaking about anyone who could be like the Son of God except Jesus. So it's very interesting when you get into Hebrews that there's some teaching there that they forgot to leave out. It was a very moving moment in my life when I saw the Akashic records of the Archangel of the Seventh Ray actually in ceremony according that level of priesthood upon both Saint Germain and Jesus Christ. He was the prophet Samuel in the 11th century BC in Israel. He gave the teaching to Saul, obedience is better than sacrifice, and he also anointed David king. He was Saint Joseph in the 1st century AD in Nazareth. He was Saint Alban, the late 3rd or early 4th century, the first British martyr. He was a Roman soldier at that time living in Britain who sheltered a fugitive priest. He became a devout convert and was put to death for disguising himself as the priest in order to save the priest. Saint Germain was the master teacher of Proclus around 410-485 Athens. Proclus was the last major Greek Neoplatonic philosopher. He was the head of the Platonic Academy. His works cover philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, and grammar. He was Merlin, the great alchemist, seer, prophet, counselor at the court of Arthur. He was Roger Bacon, about 1220 to 1292 in England. Roger Bacon was a philosopher, educational reformer, and experimental scientist. He was the forerunner of modern science, renowned for exhaustive investigations into alchemy, optics, mathematics, and languages. George Kunz called him the most gifted man of the 13th century. He joined the Order of Franciscans to pursue his investigations, and he was brutally persecuted by them for his scientific beliefs. One of his most important embodiments was as Christopher Columbus, 1451 to 1506. And he was Francis Bacon, 1561 to 1626. He was the true author of the Shakespearean plays, and there is a cipher embedded in their first editions which proves this fact. He was the father of inductive science and the herald of scientific revolution and the lawful heir to the throne of England. You can read about the exciting life of Francis Bacon, this cipher, and how he was born to the Virgin Queen and Lord Leicester, and forever thereafter denied by his mother and never given the opportunity to wear the crown. He left that embodiment and became the Count Saint Germain, the Wonder Man of Europe. We talk all about the Wonder Man in the introduction to Saint Germain on Alchemy and the first book of Saint Germain on Prophecy. He was admired throughout the courts of Europe for his adeptship, including removing the flaws in diamonds and other precious stones. He was seen to bilocate and to dissolve his form at will. At this point, he really was an ascended master who had a dispensation to physically appear over a century and a half. He is recorded by many people, including the diaries of Dadamar, as performing all these feats. I quote amply from all of these sources to authenticate that he actually did these things or was said to have done them. Voltaire called him the man who never dies and knows everything. He worked behind the scenes to create a United States of Europe and forestall the bloodbath of the French Revolution. His counsel was ignored. In a final attempt to unite Europe, Saint Germain backed Napoleon, who misused the master's power to his own demise. Saint Germain then turned to the New World, and as he had already been working with America since its founding, he stood by George Washington throughout the Revolution, called for the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and directed the writing of the Constitution. He anointed George Washington as the first president. So now we're going to look at this master whose chakra is the seat of the soul. He comes to awaken our souls in the sign of Aquarius. His retreat is in Transylvania in Romania, as well as in Table Mountain in Wyoming, but he uses the Royal Teton Retreat for his training. At his University of the Spirit, you are prepared to receive the gift of prophecy and the gift of the working of miracles. Saint Germain uses the diamond with the amethyst and the aquamarine. The name amethyst comes from amethystos, the Greek for not drunken. The ancients believed it quelled any kind of passion, appetites, desires of the body, preserved chastity, controlled the emotions, imparted dignity, love, compassion, and hope. That amethyst crystal you see is amethyst quartz, and of course there is a more refined amethyst that is of gemstone quality. The Hebrew belief is that it could induce dreams and visions. Casey says it makes the body more sensitive to spiritual influences, higher vibrations, and healing forces. It's good to wear for meditation, increasing abilities during exertion, and preventing personal anger. It is the gem of the bishop's ring in the Catholic and Episcopal Church, associated with kingship, religious ceremony, ritual in church and state. Unquestionably, the amethyst is the gemstone of the alchemist and the prophet, and that means you. You are destined to be an alchemist as well as a prophet in this age. And by prophet, I mean one who reads the handwriting on the wall and knows the signs of your times, your comings and goings. The amethyst, like other gems, is a receptacle. It stores the seventh ray and attracts the gifts of the Holy Spirit. One should always have an amethyst on one's person and an amethyst crystal on one's desk for resolution, harmony, joy, creativity, and freedom. You can visualize the amethyst on your desk as a nexus of a figure eight through which all deliberations and conversations with others that see you may flow.
Such meditation to just listen. I forget that I'm even live half the time. Whew, wow. My hands feel very electrical right now. Really interesting. So that's Elizabeth Prophet, Summit Lighthouse, one of the OGs. Thank you to her for her service. She is no longer on this plane. Oh, man. All right, so got a little announcement. We're having our worldwide community website for you guys to be able to access our services, our offerings, retreats, and many other beautiful things that we have available, where you'll be able to access and book services and connect with us at your fingertips through your devices. And we have people all over the world, all over the country. So we'll have a good, clear sense for you of who's local for you as well to connect with when it comes to your healing journey, as well as self-realization, empowerment.
Imagine booking a soul session, ordering crystals, and joining a live retreat from your phone. For too long, finding the right healers, the right products, the right community has meant endless searching across scattered corners of the internet. That changes now. The Sacred Kingdom has arrived, an online hub where a worldwide directory of holistic practitioners, readers, life guides, organic makers, musicians, a crystal shop, books, and more are all waiting for you. Book one-on-one sessions, order products, and discover Kingdom members serving locally in your area, all from your fingertips, wherever you are, whenever you're ready. Stay connected to upcoming events and retreats, both online and in person. Tap into a YouTube channel built for real conversation, hands-on holistic learning, and free giveaways. And there's more coming: courses, programs, a holistic recipe book, and the Sacred Kingdom Mystery School Academy mentorship. This is a space built on love, compassion, and the belief that conscious living should be accessible to all walks of life. Visit thesacredkingdom.com, and if you feel called to build from within, email Marcus ChristoLight at marcustut23@gmail.com about joining the Kingdom Council. The Kingdom is open.
The kingdom is open. So yeah, we're about to be shaping the world a little bit with this launch, and this is a really, really awesome opportunity that's coming to all of us, where again, the efficiency, the accessibility, being able to find your local people, as well as be able to connect online and no longer have to go to, the larger corporations, or have to go to pharma-backed and Monsanto-backed places and things of that nature. But to be able to find those that are in your brotherhood and sisterhood that care about you and that truly devote their life to helping this planet, helping each other have a beautiful and healthy life, you'll be able to access more of that. You'll be able to access more of that, and to be able to just cut out and cut off what you feel like is no longer necessary and not where you want to put your energy and time when it comes to larger establishments and things that have negative intentions. So with that being said, let's go ahead and watch our final video of this session. And this is going to be about how to use the violet flame and violet flame connection.
How many times do we find ourselves underestimating our own abilities? Enveloped in fears and insecurities, we tend to forget that we are divine beings, carriers of an infinite spark of light. But today, I am here to remind you of the greatness within you and to awaken the unlimited power that resides in each and every one of you. Believe, my dear ones, that you are so much more than you imagine. You are the children of the universe, made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And within you, there resides a sacred flame, the violet flame, which is the manifestation of transmutation and purification. By truly believing in the unlimited power of your being, you reconnect with your inner divinity. Understand that you are co-creators of your own reality. You have the power to shape the world around you through your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Take responsibility for your choices and direct your energy towards manifesting your deepest dreams and desires. I tell you, there are no limits to what you can achieve when you connect with the divine essence within you. Spread your wings of imagination and allow yourself to soar beyond self-imposed boundaries. Discover the greatness of your being and let your true light shine. On this journey of self-transformation, you will find a powerful ally, the violet flame. It is a divine gift, capable of transmuting negative and limiting patterns in your life. When you invoke the violet flame, you invite the energy of forgiveness, mercy, and divine transformation to work within you. This sacred flame purifies your mind, heart, and spirit, freeing you from the shackles of the past and allowing you to shine with the light of your authentic self. Allow yourself to bathe in the violet radiance and surrender all that no longer serves you. Let the blazing flame of transformation envelop you. Releasing all limitations, fears, and blockages. Visualize the violet flame surrounding every cell of your being, purifying and transmuting everything that is not aligned with your true essence. Believe, my beloved ones, that you are infinite beings, capable of transcending any limitation. Break free from the chains that hold you back and allow yourself to expand beyond the boundaries of the known. Discover and explore your abilities, talents, and passions. There are no limits to what you can achieve when you connect with the divine essence within you. You are the co-creators of your destiny. Therefore, firmly believe in the unlimited power of your being. Transform your negative thoughts into positive ones. Free yourself from limiting beliefs that hinder your progress. See yourselves as beings capable of performing miracles and manifesting the life of your dreams. Yet, as you believe in the unlimited power of your being, remember that this is not an invitation to selfishness or manipulation. It is a call to act with love and service to the world. Recognize your connection with all beings and use your power for the greater good. Be agents of change, contributing to the healing and transformation of the world around you. You are beings of light on an earthly journey. The violet flame is the divine tool bestowed upon you to ignite your true essence and illuminate the path for others. By transmuting your own shadows, you become beacons of hope and inspiration to those seeking their own inner light. Dear hearts, firmly believe in the unlimited power of your being. Remember that you are divine beings capable of shaping your reality in a positive way. Invoke the violet flame to transmute what no longer serves you, making room for the full expression of your divine essence. Allow yourselves to transcend self-imposed limits and become the brightest manifestation of love, joy, and peace. As you commit to the journey of self-transformation, remember that I, Saint Germain, am always here to support you. Call upon me. Invoke the violet flame and open yourselves to the unlimited power of your being. May the violet flame surround you with its transformative energy, freeing you from all limitations and allowing you to shine like the stars you are. With love and gratitude, Saint Germain.
Saint Germain. I thank you all for joining me on this today. I will be live again next weekend, probably, for the 15th. I'm going to be hosting a retreat. I won't be available to be live with you guys, but you guys can catch me on the 15th, where I will be live with the Sacred Kingdom on our New Moon podcast. So in the meantime, you guys, just reach out still, find my socials, reach out through email. We can one-on-one sessions, we can online consultation sessions as well. And we can also help you with developing your skills and gifts and let you be a part of building community as well. So there's a lot of things that you can still be a part of, even though I'm not live. And it's amazing what we have going on behind the scenes. So if you want to be a part of some things, just reach out. And if you want to come out to retreats, go to the link in the description or in the ticker, and you can check them out and register. And of course, if you have questions, I will give you my best answers and reach out as I can. Meantime, you guys take care.